Everybody, let's get started. Just an important announcement before we start today's class. And another batch of ABAP on HANA and S4 HANA technical training has started last weekend. Those who have subscribed to it, please make sure that you attend the class this Saturday, 7 p.m. India time. It's a weekend batch, 7 to 9 p.m. India time. Please don't miss the next class. In the next session, we will be talking about the architecture and the evolution of SAP HANA database. Then we will also move on to new ABAP syntax with SAP NetWeaver 7.4 and 7.5. So please stay tuned for the coming weekend class for ABAP on HANA. Those who have subscribed for it. Those who have not subscribed for it yet, please hold on for some time until you get comfortable with SAP UI5 and Fiori. Don't overdose yourself with things which are probably going to fall apart if you go try to do many things together. So I'm not going anywhere. I'll be there with you for lifetime. Don't worry. You got to just be patient and then work on the right time. Does this course work for ABAP as ABAP beginner also? No. This course is for people who are already comfortable with ABAP programming. ABAP programming, I mean to say not complete ABAP, not the full ABAP. It's at least if you are comfortable with reports, internal table, modularization technique like function modules and stuff like that, that should be sufficient enough. I do not expect you to be a champion in ABAP like dialog programming or something. We don't need that because CDS view concept is something which is completely new, and SQL script also is completely new for you. So that's something which we'll cover from scratch in this course. That's something which doesn't need any ABAP knowledge as well. Okay. So this batch started last weekend. We had already finished two sessions on this batch. That two session includes one an introduction session, and another will be the introduction of SAP HANA DB. These two sessions are completed. So you can, if you want to watch the demo recording, it's already there on my YouTube channel. You can always go back to the YouTube channel and check the demo recording. YouTube, go to ABAP on HANA tutorials, ABAP on HANA playlist, and you'll find the tutorial, the YouTube video recording of that demo session also on my YouTube channel. So just go through that. It's an interesting thing because, as I always mention all of you, that today to survive in any project you must learn all three stacks end to end. So that's what exactly this middleware stack is for any Fiori latest UI5 or Fiori application. In fact, S4 HANA, wherever you see here S4 HANA projects, they are all actually using this particular stack. They're all actually using this particular technology to be able to enable digital transformation to your company. So that's the demo video. You can see S4 HANA technical, S4 HANA tutorial, technical training, and it was uploaded 1st of December around the weekend, and you can see already got 423 views on that. Cool, that's so nice. So let's move on now to today's topic. Welcome back to SAP UI5 and Fiori training. In today's session we will go ahead and discuss about icon tab filter control, which brings you a kind of a tab strip, and also together with that we will also discuss about how to enable table control for SAP Fiori. This was also one question which many of you were asking, Anubhav. Can we enable a table control as part of Fiori, and how it is different from SAP UI table? Basically SAP M table, how the SAP M table is different from SAP UI table. We will be discussing about that as well in today's session. So let's get started. Let me launch SAP Web IDE as usual, and then we are just going to open up. I'm just going to launch the app. In the meantime, let me also open UI5 SDK. There you go. And just go back to our app and execute this. Of course, in a new session as usual. Now we see here Cool. Let's move on then. And now it's time to bring a tab strip control over here on the right hand side. Here is where we want it. Okay. And then we want different tabs. And when user click on one of the tab, it should display the below details. Yeah, this is what it should display here. So let us go ahead and see how can that be achieved. Let's go back. And now we are going to go back to view 2. And here is where we got to add. So let's add an icon tab bar. That's what I want to add. And this icon tab bar, I'm going to add icon tab filters. And it has a text, it has a key, and it has an icon property. This is what it has typically. And let's end this tag. And now I'm going to add 3 of them like this. If you want to check the documentation, please go ahead and go do that. Icon tab filter. Let's come back here to API reference, icon tab filter, and there you go. In the properties, you can come and check design, icon property, icon color, icon density, show all visible. But oops, I don't see the text and key property here. Anybody? Where is the text and key property? Any guess? I don't see that property over here. Anyone? Yes, of course, you got to go to base class, and that's a very important class actually. It's used across entire UI5 in lots of controls. It's called SAP UI Core Item class. Let's go inside to the item class, and now we will just check the properties here. We have a key property and we have a text property. Okay, that's what we have it. So that's the reason I had put these properties, because they're coming inheriting from the base class. Yeah, let's go ahead and write some content. So I can say additional info, and I can say ID AI. Then I will put here table or suppliers, and I can say ID supplier. And then I will put here something called select city. I can say ID city. Let's bring it out an icon. So this is SAP hyphen icon. This is SAP hyphen icon supplier. And guys, there's another way now. Let me introduce you guys something called layout editor. You can right click on the view and say open with layout editor. This is like a web intro. If you guys have worked on it, opens a kind of a layout editor which is more like graphical view of your view. It's a good time. You can go ahead and work with the layout editor actually, because that is going to help you to speed up your development. Those who like, they can; those who don't like, they can still continue, because our job is more towards XML, and it's easy also to write XML as compared to this. Okay, now unable to open the view to XML. Some problem is happening with layout editor. Anyway, let's proceed here. SAP hyphen icon colon slash slash, and now I'll put maybe home. So I had put now here three icon tab filters, basically 3 tabs inside my tab strip. Clear everyone? That's what we have done. And now let us go ahead, and if we have syntax error, then it won't open. You see there is no syntax error, there's no red here in our view. It is not opening because maybe something is wrong with the local Orion server. Okay, that is the reason it's not opening. Maybe I'll check that. So I save this and I come back, and let's refresh the page. There is indeed an error. You can see it's bumping, and I think that's something which you got to check it. And I got the reason, guys. The reason is very simple. This icon tab bar, if you look at the documentation, let's go back and check icon tab bar documentation. And if you see, icon tab bar has an aggregation called content. Do you see any of the aggregation as a default aggregation? Anybody? Do you see any aggregation here is default? No, na? There is no default aggregation. तो आपने direct कैसे डाल दिया इसको? Why have we coded directly these things in under icon tab bar? There is no default aggregation, so these content system unable to understand where to go. Yeah, and that also doesn't give you an error here. Yeah, that is the problem. So documentation helps you a lot at this point, and you see items is what we want because each item is of type icon tab. I have to add this aggregation now because it's not a default aggregation, and I have to bring in my icon tab filters in here. That's what we got to do. And now we can also try with layout editor, of course. Open with layout editor and voila, it works. Yeah. And now you can see you've got your three tabs here: additional info, suppliers, and select city. That's what we wanted. So the three tabs are visible. Now in the additional info tab, I want to drag and drop something. You can also change here the icon, press F4 help, and you get all the list of icons which you have in your company, which are there with SAP Fiori. Yeah. So like this, I can choose an icon, click on OK. So that's the beauty here. Yeah. So you see the icon have changed. You can change the icon colors. There will be something called icon color. I can say negative. And for supplier, I will come and change icon color. So all these properties, whatever you're changing, the necessary XML code is getting generated behind the scene. Yeah. And positive, and let it be like this. So come to first one, and now here inside this, we are going to add it. Okay. So let's drag and drop a simple form. Let me search if there's a simple form element. Yes, we do have. Let me drag and drop it here in this area. The first icon tab filter, and we got it. And now change the title. So it's more like drag and drop, easy option as compared to the last one. And now I see we got this. I'm just going to change this. I can say additional data as the title for the form, and this label control, I want to change this one to a text field, not a input field. So we can change the control type actually. So we've got to delete this and just going to bring a text control and just bring it, drag and drop it here just next to the label, and delete this gentleman. And now guys, there's something called an outline view, and you can see here the complete tree structure like your XML here, and you can easily now also can manipulate in this tree structure. Suppose this is a label, then there is a text field, then there's a label again, there's another input field. I want to change this input field, so I can say I want to add it. So in the content, I can right click and say add, and I can search my text field and just select it, and you can see it gets added at the bottom. And I can just delete this input field. I don't want it, and remove it, and that's my data. So label text. So first label I want is the product information, so I can say I want the product type, and I want also the product maybe price with currency. So let's do that, and that's my labels. And now it's time to do the binding. So let's come here. We already know that we've done element binding with the second view, so the data is going to come up. So just select this and go to the properties. Somewhere we should see that. So event, we should see the text property somewhere to do the binding. So I think we just gotta check that. Where is the text property and data set here? And now you see this nice little icon to do the binding. So it's the text, guys. It's not an input field now. So for input field there is a text property. For input field there is a value property. For text control it's a text property. So here see, no text is specified. Just click on this link button to do the binding, and now here you can check actually if there is a binding done with the system. But there is no binding right now, it's showing because we are not using right now any OData. So that's the reason it's not happening. So now I will just simply go ahead and manually put the binding. Okay, OData, it will come automatically. Yes. So let me go ahead and now here change this binding to product type and save this, and just come here to price. So this is an easy option as compared to what we have been using. But yes, as I showed you in the past also, it doesn't support certain controls. Yeah, doesn't support certain controls. So just be careful with it. And then we can say currency. I think it's unit. And I save this, and now that's exactly what we have it here. Cool. I just saved it, and now let me close this, and you will come to the view XML, and you see this view XML is being generated here. Wow, you can see all the code is generated automatically. That's my simple form. Inside the first icon tab bar, it has created it. Come back and execute this, and as a result, you would see it will launch. Plus, you can also see the type and the price is now displayed in the first icon tab filter. Now, if I go to another tab, of course, I will not be see, or I don't see now anything in them because I have not yet coded anything. Now it's time to add a SAP table. Yeah. And this is the time, guys, we will talk about SAP M table. This was also one question in the past. I break that question because I told it was a heavy dose. And now it's time to take that dose because you are comfortable. So what is SAP M table control? SAPM table is actually a list control, guys. Theory, SAPM table is actually a list control. Yeah, you don't believe me? You don't believe me? Yes, it is a list control. It's a SAPM list based class actually because it is inheriting from there. That's why it's a list control. So all what you learn for the list, like list modes and everything, it all applies to the table as well, right? Yeah, because it's inheriting from list based class. That's what SAP M table is all about. Let me show you in SDK. Just search for table, and now I can come to table, and now you can see it is inheriting from list based class. So of course it has now an items aggregation because list also had an items aggregation to bring in the data. Similarly, the table also has items aggregation. But now, guys, also important thing, if you remember in the previous chapters, we discussed about multiple variety of list item types. I have showed you all the list item types. Ye wala, this all we have seen. But we actually missed out this one. This was the important one which we did not looked upon. The reason why, because I didn't want to give it that time. This is the time when we talk about the column list item. It's actually used for binding tables in Fiori. So table actually is a multi-column list. If I say table in SAP Fiori, it is actually a multi-column list. How it is different from UI table? There it was a pure table, pure form of table, but here it's actually a list control. So table in Fiori is a multi-column list control. It also has responsive features like demand popping. What is demand popping? Yeah, we will discuss that feature in a minute. Let's go and create a table now. So you can also now the beauty is you can use layout editor for this. So let's come back and switch to the layout editor. And I switch to the layout editor, go to suppliers tab. We're going to get a table now. So one option you can do is right click on supplier content and add that table directly. Another option is simply just come here to the content area in the supplier and drag and drop the table. Search for table, there you go. Just drag and drop this table in here. And now you can quickly start adding columns. So my first column here is, let me add a column for supplier now. So for that, I need to refer to the JSON file, which Srinivas has created. So let me go back to the JSON. You see how important that JSON file exercise was. So now I come back to JSON and I check suppliers here, name, city, since, owner, currency. So I will be using few of them only. So I will see name, city, since when. And now it's time to do the binding for the rows. So you all know guys that rows will not come statically, they will come by binding. Let's look at the XML code what system has generated by now for at least this table. It's very easy to see that. We got to switch back to the XML editor. So open with XML editor, code editor. And now you will see that in the second icon tab filter, so we have total 3 icon tab filters. The second tab, I have got a content area and that has got a table control. The ID of the table is decided by UI5 as this. I can change that to ID suppliers, sub table. Yeah, that's the ID I'm keeping, ID sub table. And now it has got an items, aggregation and columns. Currently system has hard coded couple of items into it. Okay, and it has columns. Now you can see the columns here. It has got 3 columns. Each column has its text ID, name, city, and since when the supplier is in the market. So you've got these 3 columns here as part of columns aggregation of this table control. There's an items aggregation. Why? Because it's actually a list, multi-column list. So it has got an items aggregation because it's a list. And I'm going to expand this, and you see there are 2 column list items, and then there are cells for each of the column. How many columns we have in this table? Anyone? How many columns we have in this table? Anybody? We have 3 columns, and that's the reason you can see there are 3 cells inside. But we don't want this. We want our data to populate automatically from our JSON. What we need to do to bring the data from the JSON over here? Anybody? What we need to do to bring the data from the JSON over here? Anyone? What we need to do to bring the data? You have to do aggregation binding. What are all the 2 techniques to do aggregation binding? What are all the 2 techniques to do aggregation binding? What are all the 2 techniques to do aggregation binding? What are all the 2 techniques to do aggregation binding? What are all the 2 techniques to do? One is you can do it at XML view level. Another technique is you can do it with the bind aggregation method in the controller, the static one and the dynamic one. Let's use the static one for now. So I come back and say items, and I'll say my items aggregation with absolute path as suppliers. That's my absolute path in the JSON. You can come back slash suppliers. And now what we're going to do also is we will remove this column list item and only keep one. I'm saying, hey, my column list item. Now we're going to have 3 cells inside this, 1, 2, 3, and the value will come from the relative path for supplier because we are doing a binding here. Yeah. So my column list item, no ID is required. Just add items, column list item, cells, and here we got to put the binding. Let's do that. Binding always comes with curly braces. Of course, here also it should be curly braces for slash suppliers. And now let's get the properties. It's the name, then we have since and city. Let's come back, name, city, and then we have since. 3 properties, and make sure guys you don't keep an ID over here. Otherwise it will give you an error because system will re-replicate. Clone System will clone this column list item based on number of records which are there in suppliers entity set. Okay. Again, I repeat, system will create a cloning. It will clone as many column list item, as many suppliers you have in the JSON table. Okay. That's what will happen. I save this. Let us come back and refresh the page. You can come back, refresh the page. Suppliers, voila, wow, beautiful. Can you see a beautiful table? Actually it is a list control guys. It is a list control. It's a multi-column list. Wow, what an amazing stuff. It's a multi-column list. Yeah. Now let's see that I want to give a nice little cute example where I want to add a status of supplier. I want to say there are some suppliers which are out of market There are some suppliers who are still doing business, and there are some suppliers who have gone out of our who are no more registered with us. Yeah. So I will have three statuses. One is registered supplier, one is non-registered supplier, and one is out of market supplier. Yeah. Some of the suppliers have left the industry because of online competition. They cannot survive anymore. So I will have three statuses for different suppliers. Let's go ahead and enhance our JSON for statuses. Let's come back to fruit JSON. I put a status field, and I can say this some supplier have been out of market. I'm going to add two of them. Some suppliers are not registered with us. They are supplying something, but they are not registered with us. With us, they are not registered. And some suppliers are registered with us. Yeah. So some are out of market, some are registered, some are not registered, and some are out of market. So basically three different statuses we have. Let's bring back a new column. Binding. I can change this XML view. So you see I'm changing XML here. You can also go back and change it in the layout editor. It's your choice. You can flip back and forth between both of them, but make sure you be careful. Yeah. So now outline view, and now you see there is a column here. I'm going to add another column. So right click, choose add, and I'm going to add a column. You can see here the column. That's what I'm going to add as part of my table. The fourth column in here. You can see it's been added. And now I can say this is status. And you see the binding has already been picked up because that was the fourth cell which I've created in my Xml code. Yeah. Now let's come back and test this. You can add as many columns you wish to. It's your choice. You can see now the out of market has been added. Now guys, what I want is, this is what something which your company would also expect from you. The suppliers which are registered with us should come in green color. The suppliers which are out of market, they will never come back. They should be in the red color. And the suppliers which are not registered with us should be in the yellow color. Makes a valid requirement, guys. Do you all clear? Suppliers which are registered with us should come in green color. Suppliers which are not registered with us should come in the yellow color, because it's a warning. They are not yet registered. Out of market, they are red color, red category. That's what the coloring need. And this was indeed one of the real-time requirement by one of my students who have come to me in my job support. So now how did I do? How did I achieve this requirement? Very easy. The very first thing we have to do is here in the XML, when we are attaching this status, the status here, this should not be text control because text control doesn't have capability to show different colors. We should go with another control called object status. And now we're going to add something called a binding. So you can see the text property is the binding, and there's another property called state property of this control. Yeah, this is the property called state property of this control. Watch out, guys, anybody. If I have to do some conditional processing based on data before binding takes place, so I have my data here and I have to push this data here. And before I push the data here, I want to run some piece of code, and this piece of code should determine whether it should be in the green color, red color, or yellow color. What is the technique we have in SAP UI5 to achieve this? Before the binding takes place, something should happen. What an answer! Perfect answer, guys. All of you are correct. It is called formatter. We're going to use a formatter to bind the state property, and that state property determines the coloring. So that's what we're going to use now. Add a formatter here for state property, and this input to the state property will be the status itself, and output will be the color code. Let's do curly braces and let's bring in the formatter. So path, and I'll say formatter, and I can say just my formatter object and set status. Yeah. So let's create our formatter set status. It's time to bring in back the old game, and I'm just gonna add a folder. Quickly, I'm doing we did very fast. Blazing speed. This is the speed which you can also gain after continuously practicing UI5. And now I'm putting my conditions here for suppliers who are suppliers available in the market, who are registered with us, not registered with us, and out of business. So let's bring it on. So it's out of market, and the suppliers, some of them are not registered with us, some are registered with us. So that's what exactly doing. You're doing conditional processing based on that. Okay, that's what we are doing. And now if it is registered with us, return success. In case if it is this, return warning. And if it is this, it is returning error. That's my state property which I'm returning. Break statement not accessible. That's why web ID is giving you an error. And we are done. Okay, that's what we are doing. Set status is what my formatter is. Now it's time to go ahead and utilize this formatter. So I'm going to come back. My controller, where is my controller? Controller 2. And let's add the dependencies on the top. And let's say OFT online Fury trainings slash Fury November batch. And let's say formatter. And let's add it in a global variable. This is all something we have already done. There is no rocket science here. This is absolutely something a repeat. It's absolutely a repeat of what we have seen already in the past. There is no rocket science. There is nothing new which I'm teaching here. Just another uses of used case I took and another uses of formatter which we had already learned in the past. Perfect. Let's come back and see the magic here. Let's refresh. Actually, there is nothing like magic, but we are magician. Voila. Wow. What an amazing stuff. You can see out of market coming into the red color, registered coming into the green color, and this one not registered is coming in yellow color. Maybe due to color resolution, you may not be able to find a difference between these two colors, but actually it is yellow and red. Let me maximize to showcase this. And now I can just show you. So this looks almost same, but yeah, not registered is actually your orange color, and this one is your red color. This is how this requirement of real time was achieved when a requirement came. Now what next? So what we also want is to do something more. So there will be a exercise which I will also give you guys, which you guys have to try. Now, what else do we want in this table? So we've got this formatter added, we got the status added. Now, the responsive feature which I was talking about. Look at this table. I switch to mobile mode, and what happens? Look at this table. What is happening in mobile mode, guys? the name, city, since when, and status is coming. What I want system to hide the since when column in mobile. I don't want to display since when column in mobile device. When my app runs on mobile, I don't want since when column to display in mobile. Okay. I don't want that column to display in mobile, but I want to display in desktop. कैसे करोगे? Very easy. It's exactly called demand pop-in property. Just you got to go to the column. Okay, let me go to a layout editor again. And I'll just come down to the column since when column. Yeah, that's our column. So just highlight the column part, not the text part. And now you see here a demand pop-in property is false. Just mention demand pop-in is true. Sorry, that's not demand pop-in. Let me just check it. It's actually, there's a pop-in display property. No, there is a property actually. I forgot that property. Let me check that. It must be here. So it is, yes, it's a minimum screen width property. Correct. This is the one, minimum screen width property. And now I'll say if the application runs only on desktop or tablet, then only display this particular column. Otherwise, don't display. So I say minimum is tablet. Now I'm adding tablet here, which means this column will only be displayed in tablet and above tablet. Above tablet means desktop. Only tablet and desktop this column will be displayed. In mobile, this column will not be displayed, guys. Clear everybody? It will not at all be displayed. Okay, that is what will happen. Now another property is, I will also come to status and I'll say, hey, the status in mobile actually will be displayed as a demand pop-in. I make it true. Watch out what happens when I make demand pop-in true. In mobile device, what will happen, system is going to move this column automatically down. Currently if you see this column is coming in line like column, it will automatically move this column down. Okay, you will see it will like word wrap, it will do a word wrap of this particular column down there in mobile. So I made the demand pop in true for status, and I made for since when property minimum screen width as tablet, which means only in tablet and desktop please display this column, mobile mein dikhao hi mat is column ko. And that's the responsive nature of SAP M table. This is the difference between SAP UI table and M table. SAPM table is more responsive in nature. Let's come back. Refresh in mobile. And you all know that in mobile, how does it start with? It starts with the list first. And now you can choose an item, go to suppliers, and voila. Can you see, guys? Can you see that particular column which you had since when is gone? Can you see that? Did we hide that column manually? We didn't do anything. That column which was something here, it's gone in mobile. It's no more there. That's the killer feature of SAP M table, responsive behavior. But oops, I still don't see my status coming as demand popping, because for this also I have to give minimum screen width as tablet. Then only the demand popping will work. So let me just go and give for this also. Demand popping true, minimum screen width is tablet, and pop-in display is without header. Don't display header of this column in mobile. In mobile, system will try to hide the column, but since demand pop-in is true, system will wrap this column below. Watch out now. I come back, refresh, execute, select a product, and voila. Can you see, guys? Out of market column is being automatically moved down. That's the status of this. This is the coolest feature I have ever seen in any technology, any UI technology. This is the coolest thing which I have seen ever. You can't do this in BSP and WebDintro. You can't do this in BSP and WebDintro. So column nahi aa raha hai, column ka label nahi aa raha hai, and it is demand popping the column automatically at the bottom. That's an amazing feature. Nobody can achieve this in WebDintro, and that happens so beautifully according to the device. According to the device. If you switch the device to desktop back again, you're gonna see your columns are popping up automatically again, because it has now that luxury of space to adjust these columns. Yeah, based on the device, it adapt itself. That's an amazing feature of SAP M table. What an amazing stuff, guys. SAP Fiori. Thanks to SAP Fiori to make this possible for us. WebDyn Pro BSPs is crap. Scrap, guys. People are losing their career in WebDyn Pro and BSP. Whenever some student is asking for WebDyn Pro course these days, I'm not interested selling because I'm not a seller here. I'm a person who wants to build your career. I believe that if a student gain out of my course, that is when student is going to come back and remember me. Otherwise, doesn't make sense, right? Why to spend somebody's hard-earned money on something which is of no use? I always ask students when they come for WebDyn Pro, are you sure you want to learn WebDyn Pro? It's an outdated technology. It's an outdated technology. Okay. I guide them to the right direction. I send them to Fiori training. Cool. That's about my table control. Hope you enjoyed this particular discussion of table control, how it works. And in the desktop, of course, it brings it back to its original nature without any extra effort from the developer side. That's the behavior of smart. That's a smart behavior of this table. A smart table is used for smart form. It's mainly used for a smart filter analytical application. I just give you a glimpse of that. That's something which we are not going to learn in this course. That's something we will cover in SAP ABAP on HANA course. And that is the reason I can bet you that you have not seen my video, which I shared with you to see the types of Fiori apps. I bet you that you have not seen my video, which I have showed all of you the other day that you must watch that video to understand the types of Fiori apps. Just search for types of Fiori apps and you'll find my video on the top. There you go. Types of Fiori app. Please watch this video. Please watch this video so that you understand the types of Fiori applications which we have in the market. And you will get the right expertise of what type of application used where and what is the effort of building these applications. Please watch this video. Okay, so that you can ask the right questions. The smart table is actually using smart filter apps. It's used more on ABAP on HANA. That's why I say please complete these 3 courses in next 8 months. अगर कुछ गोल बनाना है तो ये बनाओ. नेक्स्ट 10 ईयर ऑफ योर करियर इज माय गारंटी टू यू. मैं आपको 10 साल का करियर लाके दूंगा यहां से. Next 10 of your year of your career is my guarantee. Please complete. Please complete these 3 courses in next 8 months. Your next 10 year of career is set. No matter whether you know ABAP, whether you don't know ABAP, whether you know JavaScript or you don't know JavaScript, you will believe me that all my trainings are designed considering you as fresher. अगर थोड़ा सा दिमाग लगाओगे तो सब सीख जाओगे. A little bit of effort, hard work, and that's it. The details of each batch is here. You click on the button, you're going to get the details of each of the batch. Okay. So that's about uh, my promise to all of you that you must complete these 3 continuously to gain to that highest expertise. उसके बाद भी appetite नहीं खत्म हो रहा है. Go with this one. Native HANA development, cutting edge technology, complete Native HANA app you can build in the cloud. अगर फिर भी नहीं खत्म हो रहा, come back to SAP Cloud Platform. And then we have also soon more courses coming on S4HANA Cloud, where we'll talk about in-app extensibility, side-by-side extensibility, killer features of Fiori Launchpad, Me area with SAP S4HANA, test automation tool in S4HANA, how to use it. There's a free test automation tool for doing testing in S4HANA. The S4HANA cloud implementation basics, how to do implementation, what are the different phases, realize phase, deploy phase, run phase. There are different phases. SSCUI configuration basics in S4HANA cloud. So we're going to learn complete S4HANA cloud appliance with side-by-side and in-app extensibility. You can build in the cloud also your custom table, custom business object, custom business logic, and then lots of variety of Fiori elements with an analysis path framework and also the features like query browser, embedded analytics, KPI modeler. That's what is going to come up soon, another course. And then if agar appetite khatam nahi ho raha, come back, Cloud Foundry development with the Spring Boot application. That's also another course lined up in my pipeline. I will launch a course on Spring Boot using Java Spring Boot framework, how to create complete native cloud application and deploy that in Cloud Foundry with the Docker concept, Maven concept, JNDI lookup, Java persistence API, Bean concept, dependency injection, Spring Boot Maven, and then we have RabbitMQ, complete DevOps with Cloud Foundry. We will be covering in that course coming soon. अगर फिर भी एपेटाइट नहीं कंप्लीट होता है, come back Leonardo machine learning. I am planning to launch that course mid next year. All your technical learning need can be completed and fulfilled with single thing. The world is moving very fast. You are already late. These technologies which I'm showing here, they're already 2 to 3 year old technology which you are now picking up. You got to pick up fast, guys. World is moving so fast. If you really want to grab the opportunities, after there is a huge supply in the market for the consultants, your demand will decrease. Currently there is still a demand in the market, people looking for UI5 Fury app on HANA developers. एक बार थोड़ा सा 2-3 साल और निकल गया, उतना पैकेज नहीं मिलेगा जितना अभी मिलेगा. You can gain maximum package at today's date by learning these things, because still it's a hot technology, all three of them together. They all go together. They don't go individually. They all go together because company is expecting you to be an expert. You can become an architect for this. Okay. With that, let's move on. Coming back to the application. So now there's an exercise for all of you. You got to enable an arrow button here, a navigation button for the table. And when I click on the table, it should navigate me to the third view and where it should show me the supplier information. Okay. So navigate to the third view and show me the supplier information on the third view. That's an exercise for all of you for today. So enable navigation in the table. And when user select a record, the selected supplier information will be displayed next to it. Cool. Let's see how many of you can complete this exercise. Okay, coming back. Now it's time to look at a couple of other controls like drop-down control. So I want to go back to select city and I want to create a drop-down control over here. Before that, let's also see in another requirement. So maybe I'll look into that requirement. Do remind me tomorrow if I forget that. We want to convert the city field to an input field, and then we want to give an F4 help. Okay, a value help. So let me do that right now. Just convert these to input field and an F4 help so that I don't forget it in tomorrow's class, also to showcase that to you. So I come back to my view to layout editor, and now here instead of this city, which is actually something called a text, I'm going to change it to input field. So let's inject a new cell and I say add. I'm going to say input field. Sorry, I added an input list item by mistake. Just to Control Z and just come back. Yes, and here where is the text? So this text should change. This text should be changed to an input field. So let's add this up. And I'm going to drag position. It's up. So you can easily move the positions. Select your input field. And there is this, there has to be a button to position these elements up and down. Not able to find that. Right click. I don't see that button anyway. Just going to move that up. Ideally, there has to be a button to move it up and down. Oops. Just going to go back. So I can right click. I can say cut it from here, please. And I'm going to paste it right below the first text. Paste after. And now I'm going to just remove this text. Delete. And now we've got our second cell as city, and let's do the binding here with the value property, and your city becomes an input field on the screen. Let's come back, and you see now Mumbai, Pune, Chennai, Nasik, Delhi, and Ranchi. You can see it has become an input field. Now I want it to be an F4 help enabled. It's very easy. Select the input field. There has to be a property to make it enable for F4 help. It's something called value help. And just come down, 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 down. Value help, value help. Where is it? Where is it? Let me check. And so suggestion, show value help. There you go. There's a property, and you can just change it to, and voila. Can you see a nice icon coming up, which makes a value help enabled? But let me come back, refresh, and now we have a value help here for each of the input field. Anybody, when I'm clicking on F4, कुछ नहीं हो रहा है. Why nothing is happening? What do you think? Why nothing is happening? What is the problem? When I click on F4 help, Anubo, my F4 help is not working, Anubo. What is the problem? Anybody? What is the problem? There is nothing like magic. You forgot the statement, guys. You forgot the statement. There is nothing like magic. You forgot the golden statement. There has to be an event, and you have to have an event handler. Some people saying binding. Binding has nothing to do with this. This is purely an event. Okay, there has to be an event. We're gonna code that event later. Right now, just keep it like this. Let's move on to select city. I'm now gonna add a couple of drop downs here. So I will go to the third view, and we're going to add drop-down controls. There are three variety of drop-down controls in SAP Fiori. What are all these three? So there is something called drop-down control select control. Then we have a multi-select, and then we have also something called combo box. So I'm going to add all three of them. So now again, right click, choose add. I'm going to add a select control first of all, and just choose select control. There you go. It has come up, and I can give an ID supplier, or again the ID city. I'm going to list down all the city names, and now I can say selected key. I'm removing it, and I'm going to do the binding with items. So there has to be some items aggregation to do the binding. So let me just check that. There has to be some items aggregation, so you have to collapse it. So let's check that. There has to be some items aggregation to bring in all the items in the drop down control. So let's check that. I don't find that here. You see system is not showing, so we have to in this case switch to the XML part of the view. Yeah, selected key is actually out of the values which you see on the screen, which value you want to select by default. That's called selected key. Okay, that is called selected key. Let me search your item segregation. You see it's not showing me here, item segregation. Yeah, it's not showing, so you have to do binding for this one with XML view. That's why I prefer to use XML view editor rather than layout editor, because many things you will get confused if you play around with this. It's good for just drag and dropping the items. Okay, now you see there's an item segregation. It was not showing there. So now I'm going to remove this, all these hard coded items. We're going to get the items from our JSON binding. Just keep one item and then that it has a text and a key property, which is of course natural for a drop down. And now I'm going to add uh, items aggregation here, binding, and then just put the binding with our JSON, which is city entity set slash city. Of course, it has to be in the curly braces. And let's put a list item here, and it should be city name. And we have a mistake here. We should never put a space in the property name. That's not a good practice. Let me change this JSON little bit. Control F, and I say city. City is enough actually. Why to name? Replace. Done. Nice. Let's put city, and that's all I want. in my drop down. So come back, text is city and key is also city. We are done. Let's come back and see the UI. As a result of that, you're going to see a nice, beautiful drop down will come up. But oops, some problem, press F12, go to console, कुछ तो पंगा हुआ है. I get key is not a function. Yeah, we have given something a key in the layout editor, and that is what is causing a problem. Selected item, you see something it is telling here. This is not right. You should remove the selected item, and selected item ID also I should remove. That's not correct. Yeah, that's why it gave me an error. Just items, ID of the select control, and list item with a binding with absolute relative paths. So this is absolute path, this is a relative path. Coming back, refresh, and voila. Can you see all the items are popping up as part of the drop down? Beautiful. That's what we wanted. This is how we can create a drop down control. Now guys, the challenge here with this drop down control is by default it selects the first item automatically. You see, first item it selects always. Sometimes in a company the requirement is to not select anything. So one way is add a blank entry in this using your JSON. That is one way. Another way is to go with another control called Combobox control. The Combobox control is not just a drop down, but it's also something called a input field. Suppose there is a city which doesn't exist in this list. Still, I want to allow user to enter the city. What do I do? Can you allow here user to enter any other city other than what is there? Anyone? Can you allow user here a city which is not there other than the list? It doesn't allow. It only allows you select cities which are there, right? So we want a control where we allow user a manual input plus a drop down also. How can we do that? That's called a combo box control. Now watch out the magic. Don't have to do anything. Pura as it is uthao, as it is dal do, and just change it to combo box. Just change it to combo box. No change in binding, nothing. Just change it to combo box. Change the ID of course, otherwise it will have a error that you have controls with same ID. It is not allowed. And now you will see it will convert another combo box next to my down. So let's refresh. Voila, can you see now it allows you point one a blank entry automatically. Point two, it is an input field. So if there is a city which is not there in the list, I can still enter that. You can still choose the cities from the drop down, which works like a select, but I can also choose a city. So I say R, it filters all the cities automatically for me. The moment you say R, you see it has got all the cities. If you say M or whatever, yeah, whatever you write, it automatically filters the data. Point to, it can also enter a city here which actually you don't have in the list. That's the beauty of the combo box control. I hope you're clear guys with combo box control, the beauty and the advantage of combo box. Many times in your company you want to allow a drop down plus input combination, yeah, where user can enter something which is not there. User can filter the data, user can select data, and user can leave it blank as well. Yeah, these are all the features which the combo box offers. I love to use this control because this gives me a flexibility. I have used in many apps. The last one, but not the least one, is multi-select combo box, multi-combo box. Just copy the same code. I'm against copy paste, but now since you understand, I'm copy pasting, speed up, and now I have multi-combo box. Okay, this is multi-combo box. Watch out, how does it look? Come back, and of course change the ID. Don't forget to change the ID. It'll give you an error. And refresh and see what happens. And I've got a multi-select combo box, and voila, wow, free of cost. Such an amazing feature. I can choose now multiple cities here. जो चाहिए वो ले लो, and it creates tokens. Wow, what a control, man. You might have seen this in a standard Fury apps, and that's the beauty of multi-select combo box. You can add, remove any control, any drop-down items. It's your choice, and that becomes a multi-select combo box. Clear everybody? Look at the behavior of this control in mobile. Watch out. ये सब मोबाइल में फ्री में automatically adapt होता है. Mobile gives you an amazing experience for these controls. If I click on drop down, watch out. See how it looks in mobile. How beautiful it looks in mobile. Yeah. It adapts itself automatically according to the device width, guys. That's the beauty of Fiori. That's why WebDyn Pro BSP is obsolete. That's why WebDyn Pro BSP SAP GUI all three are gone. तीनों का पत्ता काट दिया इसने. Clear everybody? Any questions? We have learned a lot in today's class. I hope you can practice this and please come back with a solution of exercise which I gave you. There was an amazing learning of coding, variety of controls today in this session. Any questions before we close today's class? Any questions? Looks like it was really a heavy dose for many of you. Very, very silent today. What about state restoration? Yes, I will come to that. Please hold on. Please park your question. It is still a long story. We are yet to reach to that topic. So you got to wait. It's a heavy dose of antibiotic right now. I will not leave you like this. I will complete everything. Yeah. Can we collapse the master list? What do we mean by collapsing the master list? It's already collapsed. Okay, you mean to say this panel you want to collapse and hide? Yes, we can do that. Just first of all, remove this back button from the view 2, which is unnecessarily, right? So go to view 2 and just remove that back button because you don't need that. Let's save this and let's come back to mobile view and refresh the app. And now let's see. So you got a master list, select an item, and now it's taking you here. But there's no way to bring the master list back again, right? There's no way to bring that back, right? Something is wrong. So we have to go to our parent and tell the parent, hey, can you please sort this out? So go to the parent, and here we should have something called mode property for split app, which brings it possible. So let's come back and check. Even I too don't remember. So got to check that here. And there's a home icon and just not there. So go to base class. Kidhar kidhar hai ye raha. Okay, let's go check and see properties. And there has to be something called mode. Yes. And split mode, hide mode, pop over mode, show hide mode. And now you see here master will be automatically be hidden in the portrait mode. Yeah, that's called show hide mode. Master will be shown inside a popover when portrait mode. Uh, Master area it is hidden initially. Both the portrait and landscape mode can be opened by clicking on the top left corner with a swipe button. So that's called hide mode. I want to go to popover mode. So let me go back and just put the mode property, popover mode, and let's come back, refresh the page, and watch out what happens. I select an item kiwi. Oops, it's not working. Ideally, it should have got me a popover, or let me just try this one. Not sure. There is some mode which we gotta choose that. It's just gonna bring this thing up on the screen automatically. No, it's not coming. I have to check that, guys. There is some mode which we have to set to bring the master and in the mode proper mode. The stretch compress mode. Let me try this one last. So that's the setting which we got to do. It's not currently enabling it. Ideally, it should have enabled it. There is something which we are missing. Ideally, this is the mode which we have to put and view to make setting karna padega to check that. So with that, as a result of it, we will be able to see the master section in a collapse mode actually. Okay, just check that. And you see, yeah, This is what I think you were asking. Master doesn't display by default and you have this nice button to bring it. That's called master collapse mode. Yeah. I think that is what you were asking. So this is how we can achieve the collapse mode for master. Okay, cool. That's it for the day. Thank you so much. See you tomorrow. Actually, next week with the next couple of interesting topics on UI5. Have a nice day.